Welcome back, guys, to Friends and Enemas. My name is Lindsay. I am your host, and who do I have with me?
It's me, Jared. I'm back again. I don't know why she invited me back, but I am here.
I think you need to be closer to the mic.
No.
No?
No.
You hear yourself just fine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I sound better than you to me. So, yeah. We have a little bit of a different setup if you're watching on YouTube right now. We're trying so hard to get the RV to be the perfect studio, but it's hard when you live in it full time to make it make sense as a studio as well. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
We've spent the last 30 minutes trying to figure out the best spot, and for right now, it's right here. But I eventually want it to be this little book nook I have over in a different corner of the RV. But it's a work in progress.
Yeah. We've had ideas of like 5 or 6 different places in the RV. Probably every place in there. There's only about 7 or 8 places in the RV. So we'll figure it out. I liked my original idea.
What was your original idea? I forgot.
The pantry. Putting it in the pantry, padding that thing off, and then you have a full podcast studio. It'd be hard to have a guest, but
I wouldn't be able to have a guest in the pantry. That's better if I was like an audio book recorder. Like if I was a narrator for an audiobook, that would make sense. But not in a podcast where I want to sit down and chill.
Yeah.
We recently went to a studio, like a little workspace that had something like exactly what you're saying, and they called it a phone booth, and that's exactly what it was. It was just tiny enough for me to sit in there. Luckily, my anxiety was like at bay that day because otherwise, I would have been really claustrophobic.
So, yeah, that was nice to have, but there was no way to get. The only shot you could do would be like the little floating head shot of just just you.
So we're still working on it. That's why every single time you guys see me, the location changes because I'm trying to find the best way without renting a studio. Because, traveling, we travel almost full time, but, sometimes we're back home in Arkansas in our duplex, which is the perfect spot. We were just talking about this. It's the perfect spot for a studio. We have an extra bedroom up there and everything, but I don't want to be in Arkansas half the time. So I like traveling in our RV when we have contracts and when we want to see the rest of the world. So we're trying to make the RV work.
I have an idea. We're going to have to
tell us.
Well, I have an inkling that we're going to have to let go of the idea of having a daybed.
I do too. We just got this daybed behind me for storage, but I have an idea that it's going to be the new desk area, actually the original desk area, because that's actually where the office used to be. And this has been amazing, but with a studio, I just feel like we need 2 chairs right here. We need it to be comfy AF or even a little couch situation.
Over there.
Huh?
No, you're trying to move my desk?
Yeah, this would be better. We'll talk after the episode. Speaking of us not really agreeing with all of this, I'm going to talk to you about some relationship advice. So if you guys are new here, Jared is my husband. We have been together for 10 years total, but 9 years married next month.
Oh, man.
We totally skipped that 7-year itch. People ask us quite a bit, but, I feel like we have some good relationship advice. And that's what some of the topics are today. I found a few Reddit stories. I'm a big fan of Reddit. And I found a few stories that I want to read to you guys and to my husband and see what he thinks. I know, we keep burping.
Okay, no more carbonated beverages.
Yeah, I'm really sorry if you're watching this. You guys are probably like, what the absolute hell are you guys doing? But we're going to talk about a little bit of relationship advice. It doesn't really have to do with the hospital, but I kind of love it because one of the biggest questions we get asked is, how on earth do you guys work together? And if you don't know, my husband is also a traveling ICU nurse, and typically we get hired onto the same unit together. We've worked the same unit actually since we started.
Mm-hmm.
We might have went in depth in this in a previous episode, but Long story short, Jared started in the ICU 1 year before me. So he got into nursing school a year before me. Sad face, I was rejected the first year. So if you've been rejected into nursing school, don't worry, you can still do it. You can still make it. But he finished nursing school 1 year before me. So he started in the ICU. I figured out I wanted to be in the ICU. And really, we both got hired on the same damn unit. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of ended up being a thing, and we both got on days originally. And that's not easy to do, especially as we travel more. We're realizing that, you kind of go to nights, you pay your dues, and then you work your way up if you want to work. Some people they fall into nights and they love nights.
Yeah,
but
I'm not one of those girlies.
I really wanted to go straight to days, and it just so happened that they needed weekend employees, and so we both worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the first 2 years for me and 1 year for you.
Yeah. And honestly, that's what I tell so many new grads. Like, if you want to be a day shift girly, it doesn't always mean it's going to happen, but something you can always do is offer, hey, I really would love to work days. Is there any way that you need weekend shift help? Mm-hmm. And, you give a little bit, they give a little bit, you scratch their back, they scratch yours. And for me, it worked out where I worked every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I loved that. I loved working 3 in a row. I personally loved working weekends because then on the weekday when I needed to go to Costco, it was not busy.
Yeah, I think we carried that strategy into travel nursing because that's one of our first questions whenever we get a new contract. We'll say, hey, I don't know your specific needs right now, but if you need weekend people, I know most hospitals do, we're happy to work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because we're trying to go out and do stuff. And being on the West Coast, it works a lot better to try to do your things, go on hikes, go to Costco on weekdays. It's still busy, but it's not near as busy as the weekend.
Exactly. I highly suggest it. But not everyone likes working weekends. Some people are still in their party phase, and I am all for that. But I am wanting to be in bed by 8:30 with a book in my hand or my Nintendo Switch at this point.
Yeah, you got beets to grow or something like that, don't you?
I'm a farmer girl I like farming games.
It's better than your little creepy game.
Yeah, actually, so recently I jumped into, sorry, we're going on a tangent here, but I jumped into like cozy games on TikTok, and somebody recommended Little Nightmares. That is not a damn cozy game.
At no point was I cozy while you were playing it.
No, it's not a cozy game whatsoever. The music's creepy. This thing keeps chasing me. It is fun, yes. And do I like creepy? Absolutely, but it is very... It's a little too far. But anyway, jumping back into our topic today is kind of like relationship advice. And I pulled up some of these I have not read yet. But I found some Reddit stories. What is the worst and creepiest relationship advice you've ever received? This is on R/2X chromosomes. It says, I've noticed that some conservatives like to give well-meaning but completely misogynistic advice to women about future relationships or marriage. I'll go first. My mother once made a remark about how high men's sex drives are, and she said, you should just wear a dress without anything underneath so he has easy access whenever he wants. I'm not sure how serious she was, but I could tell she wasn't completely joking. Now, don't get me wrong. I fully intended to sexually satisfy my future partner, but something about that comment made me feel like a walking fleshlight.
Yeah, that's so I think there's a difference between wanting to have sex because you're attracted to the person and it being expected of you like it's one of your duties. That's not super hot. No, it's the complete opposite of super hot. It shrivels me up inside. Yeah. Like I don't like comments like that, but I feel what they're saying. I've never had someone say that specifically to me, but I do know, like, growing up, knowing that men have a higher sex drive than women, and like, I don't know, I feel like that was kind of expected of me to know growing up. Mm-hmm. And that, like, I don't know, women, I don't know. This is a hard topic because I feel like women can definitely feel like objects, especially in this scenario. Yeah. And you don't have to, you can be forced to have sex even in your marriage, and that's called RAPE. That's a thing. Mm-hmm. And so, like, you should be able to respect your partner enough to know
how to turn them on in a way that doesn't mean like you have to not wear underwear under your dress so he has easy access. That's fucking weird. That's weird that their mom said that, but it also tells me like the generation their mom grew up in was probably very much like please the man all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's I don't know, it just seems like a weird boundary issue starting out. Like why that conversation specifically and that type of advice. Yeah, it seems odd. I like the walking fleshlight. That's a pretty apt description for what her mom seems to think needs to happen.
Yeah. So the top comment on here says, one moment. Did your vows mean nothing to you? When I was contemplating divorce because he was cheating, abusing me, opening credit cards in my name, and refusing to hold a job, weaponizing our child against me, and assaulting me. Did your vows mean nothing to you? I literally can't stand this.
Go on.
Like that. What do you mean, go on?
Oh, I thought you were.
I mean, there's more. It says, edit to add. I was in sales. This was coming from my district manager, who was a deacon at his own church. I was constantly advised to pray for my husband so he could experience the love of Jesus through me and find his way back to salvation. No, that's a direct quote. That is
experience the love of Jesus.
Disgusting.
This is one of many lines that's used to coerce your partner into sex. Just like it's a common thing that, well, if you aren't pleasing him, then he's going to find it elsewhere. Like if you aren't ready to have sex at any moment, a drop of a hat, then he's going to be forced. He'll have no other choice but to go have sex with somebody else.
I think that's such a cop out for not holding men accountable, or women if there's women in this situation, but I do feel like most of the time it's men holding men accountable for their damn actions. Like, like, why don't you guys just communicate with your partners? If you're needing that sex drive filled, communicate with your partner. Maybe there's a reason your partner doesn't want to have sex with you. Like, we're very much into Vanderpump Rules right now, and we just finished the last season. And poor Ariana has gone through multiple seasons talking about her sex life on there and how it's dwindling. And there's many reasons as to why she doesn't want to fulfill that sexual like thing that Tom is needing from her. And it has to do with anything. It can be anything, but like her insecurities with her body, her insecurities with herself, depression, anxiety, her partner not fulfilling things for her that she finds attractive. Like when women have to, like, one thing for me is like, if I have to be your mom, that's the least attractive thing to me in the whole world. So like if I had a boy that I was married to, that I need to pick up after them or do things for them that their mother typically did for them, immediate turn off. It's like internalizing these things that eventually lead to, no, I'm really not in the mood for sex. So like, why is there not a conversation to be had with each other?
Yeah, I can see that, especially like you feel like they're closer to a child than a independent person that you're attracted to.
Right.
And and there's a lot of in people's your hormones shift, your libido shifts. It doesn't always mean if you're not having sex, it doesn't automatically mean that there's something wrong in the relationship.
Right.
You can go through seasons of that type of stuff, and it's a lot more complicated.
And we're talking about this, guys, because I have some friends that have confided in me and thinking that their marriage was like on the rocks because they're not having sex often enough. And I'm like, what is often enough? And they're like, I don't know. What do you guys do? And I'm like, see, that's what's so different is every relationship is different. And it depends on, like Jared said, the season, the time, what's going on in their lives and their personal lives. I mean, I was on antidepressants for 3+ years and my libido was it in the room with us ever? Where did it go? Because it made me, my libido was super low, but it's also because of the antidepressants I was on. It didn't mean that we never had sex during those 3 years, but it was definitely different. So it's like, what's going on? What's the situation going on in your life? Because I don't think we should really be comparing my sex life to my best friend's sex life because everyone's so different and not everyone is having sex every single day. And I find it a bit odd that like,
The people are so concerned.
They're so concerned. Like, it's okay. If you're not having sex, it can be completely normal in a marriage.
Yeah. Before you go to the next one, I was misunderstanding the format. I think that's why I missed whenever you read the first comment, and I was like, go on. I thought that was a comment to the original post, but it was a whole new thing.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with it now though. So
okay.
I'm
well,
good.
Because the topic is what is some of the worst and creepiest relationship advice you've received. So they told theirs. People are telling theirs now.
Okay.
This comment that we just like dove into about did your vows mean nothing to you? There's an update on it, and it says, where am I now? Divorced and remarried to a loving husband who communicates with me, solves problems together, listens to feedback, respects my need for alone time. I'm a national executive at an international company, just finished my MBA, and have my son from my first marriage and a precious son from this marriage. We built and then bought our new house where we live with a herd of animals. I bake, hang out with friends, practice light witchcraft, and drink my coffee in peace. Ladies, there is life on the other side of abuse that can be wonderful. Please do not give up. That's exactly what we were talking about. Communicate with your partner.
Yeah.
And this could be flip-flopped. I'm sure that there's women out there with higher sex drives than their male spouses. And I mean, this could be on the spectrum of anyone. So it's kind of like, it's just interesting.
Yeah.
It always comes back to a woman.
What immediately comes to mind for me is feeling like, I guess the sanctity of marriage and the kind of weird religious undertones, not even undertones, it's very apparent in marriage. Religion and marriage have historically gone together very closely. And being from the Bible Belt, where we're from, it was like the biggest scandal ever in the church if somebody got divorced, and people would judge them, and it would never be the same, and this and that type stuff. And I don't feel that way at all. I think that is an old institution for men to trap their wives into a loveless marriage where they're essentially servants.
Yeah.
And it's not as much like that anymore like it was in the past, but the what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's still a taboo subject to get divorced, and you're seen as less than in the church if you get divorced, and they will pray for you and lay hands on you and give you all kinds of therapy and everything, as long as you'll just stick there in your loveless marriage that includes abuse and all that, and just take it because that's what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to work through it. And I think it's
ridiculous.
I've never understood it. If you have gone to therapy and you've done all the things that you guys can, and it is just irrevocably broken, then you owe it to yourself to move on and go to a new relationship. You're supposed to be an individual, you're not this like blob of a married couple where you can't separate the two. You should be an individual with your own things, and somebody that can leave a marriage that's no longer serving you.
That's literally the sexiest thing ever. Like, to me, it's a turn on. It is though, because like you said, we're from the Bible Belt. If you guys knew me 10 years ago, when we started dating, I did not think like this at all. I thought exactly how my parents raised me to think, and exactly how the church raised me to think, which was not a thought of my own. And this is not bashing religion. If you have a healthy relationship with religion, with your church, your God, all the things, or your deity, then Deity, damn it. I paused because I was like, I think I said that wrong.
I thought about just letting it go, but we're still here in time to save it.
Please don't. I paused because I said, that don't sound right. Jesus. What was I saying?
Also a deity.
Also a deity.
Or a doty. What did you call?
Kristen Doty. No. What was I even saying? Fuck.
I was listening, I promise.
So embarrassing.
You really railroaded us there with your grammar.
I'm not bashing religion or your deity. If you have a healthy relationship with it, but it can be toxic for some people. And I think that's important to state. It was very toxic for me. It was toxic for Jared. It was toxic for our marriage when we first were together, because do you remember the first rule we made together? Rule. That's another thing. I remember it. Don't ever use the D word.
Oh yeah.
Divorce.
Yeah.
D
Yeah.
was for divorce. And now the way I meant it was, don't use it as a weapon. Because I grew up in a house that when fighting happened, they would throw around the word divorce. Well, I'm getting a divorce. I'm serving you with papers. I meant it more like that. But I would be lying if I said I didn't have a fear of divorce. And now I'm like, divorce their ass. You deserve better. If you have put in your 110% to this other person, and let's say they're not giving it back, divorce their ass. If you're trying to go to therapy and fix things, but it's not working, divorce their ass. I fully believe that when you do take those vows, you should both put in 110% to help and fix the marriage. And however that may be, counseling, figuring out hobbies together in a way, going on date nights, whatever it may be, you should be working for it. I don't think you should just go divorce because you felt like it one day. But I do think that divorce should be a topic of discussion if you are in a unhealthy marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I cannot think of a worse thing than being stuck with somebody for my whole life just because we got married and I'm not respected. My self-worth is dwindling. My self-respect is dwindling. Like, there are reasons for divorce.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
it should be praised. Like,
I don't recall the exact statistic or percentage, but the bulk of your happiness or lack of happiness falls with who you choose as a life partner.
Yeah.
You know, because you're with that person every day for better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to choose them wisely.
And but sometimes, like you're saying, choose them wisely. Sometimes you don't know who they are until you're married to them.
Oh.
A lot of victims of domestic violence don't know their partner is abusive until they are locked into a marriage. That is like a known fact. So it's not like you didn't choose right. That's your own fault. You didn't know.
Yeah, and it's unrealistic to assume that the person you marry when you're 20, 30 years old is going to be the same person you're with at 50.
Right.
You know, people change a lot. If you looked at me 5 years ago, I was a completely different person. Mm-hmm. And 5 years ago, you were a completely different person. You kind of have to find a way to grow together and check in with each other and say, you know, these are my values. These are how my values have changed. How do we fit together with these new and changing personalities? And sometimes there's some shifting that needs to be done. Sometimes one person has to bend a little bit. And I don't think that's not staying true to yourself. That's just having respect for this person who you've decided life is more fun to go through it with.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like for me, like, I could get a little bit emotional, so I'll try to keep it in check. But I feel like, when I first realized that I was, oh shoot, the tears are coming.
Yeah, you're losing.
No.
You're losing this battle.
When I needed help for the first time in our marriage. Sorry, guys. It was hard because I didn't know who I was at the time. And I was really scared to express that to you because, I was changing. I was trying to figure out who I wanted to be. And it's pretty scary to open up to your partner when they've thought about you as one person. If you guys don't know, in January of 2020, I went to a doctor to get help for depression, and it changed my whole life, but for the better. And luckily, my partner stood by me while I went through those times because it was really difficult. And he had to watch me at my worst. But luckily, I married a grown-ass man and someone who has empathy towards others, and is emotionally intelligent, and he helped me get through it and loved me through it and helped me grow into the person I'm meant to be. And I hope that your guys' partners are out there doing the same for you, because if they're not, you deserve that. That was like the hardest time of my life, was during those few years where I was like super depressed and trying to figure out why, and going through therapy and having bouts of anger and irritation and all the stuff that my husband had to witness, which was not fun. But ultimately, he let me grow, and we grew together, and we came back and, you know, reset our foundation of who we are and how we want our marriage to be. And it all boils down to communication. That's like my favorite word to use when people ask, like, how do you guys have such a strong marriage? How do you guys make it work? And like, we're not perfect. We fight, we bicker all the damn time. But communication is key, I think.
Yeah, and it's one of those things when somebody's like, make sure you communicate, everybody just kind of rolls their, like, God, we know, everybody says that, but it really, like, that really is what it comes down to. It's a cliche for a reason.
It is.
Yeah, and you have to, and I, you know, you have been much better at it than I have. You know, like, sharing your emotions and how you're feeling and stuff like that. Like, I've always been more one just to keep it to myself and get it fixed, and then go on about life.
The patriarchy.
Oh.
No, but
I should have known.
Men are just like taught from decades ago, from centuries ago, to bottle up your emotions, that's such a womanly thing to have emotions. And it's not. It's a natural human thing to have emotions and to express them and talk about them, which is what you're learning.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, back on what you were saying earlier, it's been a pleasure watching you grow and learning from you, honestly. I mean, to see how you would just put your head down and power through all these really tough emotions and tough situations in your past and attack them head on instead of avoiding anything. It inspired me to kind of look at what I have going on and things, roadblocks in my life, and confront them head on and not act like they don't exist. And yeah, it's been watching you over the last 5-6 years has been incredible. So you've done a great job.
Well, I didn't want to cry more, but that was like super sweet. But yeah, I thank you. I hope you guys have someone in your life that supports you like this, because, you know, when I open up about my depression, anxiety, PTSD, whatever I'm going through at the time on my platform, I always get flooded with DMs from either a spouse's point of view, where they're like, how can I support my person? Or from the person going through it, that's like, what can I tell my spouse on how to support me, because I don't know how and they don't know how. I think it's, what do you think, being the spouse that has supported me through like tough times?
I mean, it just takes a lot of patience, and I try my best to be patient, but I'm certainly far from perfect, and there have been times that I have handled situations poorly and lost my patience when I probably shouldn't have, or I should have had a little more grace or understanding about what you're going through. But overall, I mean, I think with you personally, I think that most the important people in your life have tried to like pick you up and set you on a path and kind of push you down it, because they think like if you get far enough down this path, then, you know, happiness is something that you're going to run into at some point down there. And that's just not the case. And so I figured all you really needed, I mean, you've always been intelligent and empathetic. You're a good person. You're kind. So the only thing that made sense was just to like back off and let you figure it out. Let you choose your own stuff. Let you take your own path, not try to push you down one or try to steer you in any way. And I mean, I think that's when you really started to, you know, there's some bumps in the road, but you know, found the path on your own. Like I knew you would. And I think a lot of people knew you would. People can't help but try to help whenever they see somebody struggling. It's not like it's a malicious thing.
Yeah.
Because I mean, backing off and just letting you do your thing was difficult at times too. And I mean, at the same time, I'm dealing with all my own stuff. It's not like I'm sitting here watching this because I've got it all figured out. But watching you take different paths, try different things, find therapy, work through things, go on meds, transition back off of meds after years of therapy. It's been a journey. It's been a really special thing to watch.
Thank you. Yeah, so I would say all in all, support them. This is not talking about trigger warning. I need to put a trigger warning at the beginning of this too. This is not talking about anyone who is suicidal or has suicidal ideations. I think this is more of someone trying to find their way in life and like who they are. Because that's a whole nother topic that I think needs direct action. But I feel like, yeah, when you're just trying to support someone to figure out like who they are, which is so crazy thinking that in my mid-20s, I didn't know who I was. Because I think when you're like 17, 18, you think that you are going to know exactly who you are by your 20s. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I say this more and more now, but I think you're the one that told me it, that your 20s are for discovery and your 30s are for like acting on that person that you are now.
Yeah.
That you discovered.
Yeah, I think I was kind of under the notion whenever I was in high school, I was saying 17, 18, I thought whenever you come out of college, you're like a full adult, and you're like ready to do stuff. And I got out of college and I was like, I was still,
sorry guys. I honestly thought you were farting.
What?
At first I was like, are you serious?
No, it's easy.
I don't know if you guys heard that, but there was like a car doing some car noises.
No, we live in a place that they do a lot of logging and these trucks use engine brakes.
Back on discussion.
I don't remember what I was saying.
Damn it. That's happened too much this time.
I'm like a goldfish.
Like a goldfish.
Oh, yeah. I thought in high school that whenever you get out of college, you're like a full-fledged adult and you're like ready to take on the world. And then I got out of college. I was like still doing the same dumb shit that I was doing all through college. And I didn't know what I wanted to do as a career. I got a degree in like kinesiology, health science, and I didn't really want to use it. That's just kind of the standard. If you play college sports, whenever you get done with college sports, you go into like business communications or kinesiology. Yeah, it's like the three main. So I got done with that, and I didn't really want to do that, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and waited tables for a while, and just kind of not floundered, but I just kind of meandered through my last half of my 20s and tried to figure out what I needed to do or wanted to do. And everybody has their own timeline. Some people pop out of college and they're like taking on the world. Mm-hmm. Mine took a little bit longer, but yeah, I think your 20s, you should figure out, especially if you are in a more like a rural, secluded, you haven't seen a whole lot of what the world has to offer. Your 20s, you should kind of bebop around and do a lot of different stuff. And then your 30s, if you've set up your career, your 30s are pretty much your 20s, except you have money now,
right?
And so you can
so much better.
yeah. So you can actually explore the world instead of just your immediate area.
Yeah, I love that too. I feel like being raised in a bubble totally set a tone for my early 20s that like I'm not proud of. But at the same time, I was in a bubble and I didn't know like culture. I didn't know about other people, like truly know, because again, I'm raised by the same people who have lived in the same exact area their whole life. And then the church and then the school, all these people were just raised in this little tiny bubble of Oklahoma. When honestly, I feel like I blossomed when I started traveling to like California specifically, because there's so much culture and different people and different backgrounds and ethnicities and all the things that you could only dream of growing up with, that I felt so behind. Whenever when we started working in California, I felt so behind. Like, oh my God, how is there so many people that are bilingual here? And I know English and hola, ¿cómo está? Like, that's all I know. Yeah. And it's like, it's a little depressing, but yeah, I love that you say like, you should get out and explore other people in the world, regardless of how you were raised. And if you were raised that way, then congrats, because I feel like you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, and I liked growing up in the Midwest. I mean, everybody was very kind. Typically, there's a strong sense of values, of positive values that you would want. It's a very like wholesome lifestyle, but it's also, like you said, a bubble, and there's just not a lot of variety.
It's wholesome to what's the same to them, is what I feel.
Yeah,
it is wholesome. It was wholesome to me, thank God, but I don't think it would have been as wholesome for someone of a different look, honestly.
yeah.
And so that's where it comes back to, is it so wholesome?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I agree. I was raised in a wholesome area. Like everyone was nice, but looking back, I wonder if I had looked any different, would it be the same? You know?
Yeah.
Moving along. Oh, one last thing I wanted to mention about like relationship advice is me and Jared have a agreement that finding your soulmate is such bullshit. And I don't think many people talk about this, but having one person that is your soulmate, your puzzle piece, your whatever you want to call it, is such bullshit. And it goes back to like when men telling women what to do with their whole lives, like, oh, you have your one and only and it's me, but your one and only is abusing you at home. Like, it's such bullshit. Like, me and Jared have come to an understanding that we love each other dearly and deeply, but if something were to happen to us, or if we had never met, we would have found somebody else that fit our lifestyle, and they would have been our soulmate, you know?
Yeah. And I remember this, whenever I first talked to you about this, you were not a fan.
No, I wasn't at all. I thought you were I thought you were weirdly trying to break up with me or something. I was like,
but I mean, it's just,
so.
It's such a silly idea that of the, whatever, 8 billion people on Earth, the entire globe, that the woman that God chose for me just happened to live 55 miles away. And, you know, or for so many people from where we're from, that just happen to live across the town of 1,500 people that you live in, you know, or down the street or anything like that. It's silly. It doesn't make any sense. I think that you make a decision at some point. You meet a person. You make a decision at some point that life is more fun and brighter and more colorful with them in it. But at the same time, I always think that you should be your own individual person who is capable of making yourself happy. Because it's so true that you're not going to make another person happy until you can make yourself happy. You have to be comfortable with yourself, by yourself, before you can develop a healthy relationship. There should be not an ounce of codependency. And it's easy to just sit here and say that on a podcast, but and it's something that we're not perfect at it, but it gives us something to aim for. And being our own people, like if Lindsay and I didn't work out or whatever, I would be sad, of course, but this, like,
be crushed.
Yeah, I would die without you. Like, it all sounds very romantic, and it does a great job at selling very expensive wedding venues and all that stuff. But you gotta, at some point, you gotta look at this stuff logically and see how much of this is real and how much am I being marketed to.
Yeah.
But and that's not I know that's not the most romantic view on marriage, but I think if you really take some time and look at it, that I'm my own individual that is independent and happy on my own. That's the goal to shoot towards. But I choose Lindsay every day. I mean, I think that's where real romance is, because love is not a feeling. Love is an action, and it's one that you repeat every day. So I think that's
I love that.
That's my ramblings on.
No, that I was going to say, like, neither of us are hopeless romantics, so that's one thing to keep in mind. I don't want you to be yeah, my soulmate. I think that's so cringy and like Disney princess life of it's fairy tale. It's not real. So like romance is exactly, it's by your actions. Like showing up for me, you know, respecting me, listening to me, like letting me vent, letting me cry, letting me help you. Like some, you know, there's all kinds of ways to romance, but yeah, when he first told me that, it was, I'll never forget. We were in the car, we were driving, we were on highway in from Bixby heading towards like Tulsa, and you were telling me this, I started bawling. So I thought, I was like, that's the worst thing to ever tell a girl. Except I was immature. This was pre-therapy, Lindsay. I was still trying to figure out myself. And so to me, it sounded like my husband was telling me I'm not good enough for him. That's what it sounded like. That's what my ears heard, which is not what he was saying. And I fully agree with him now, 30-year-old Lindsay, being like, you should seek each other out every single day and choose each other every single day. And that's where like your love comes in and like intertwines, and to me it makes sense that way. I would never want something to happen to us in our relationship or happen to each other where we're not together anymore. That makes me sick. I would be sick for weeks, but at the end of the day, if he was my quote unquote soulmate, then I would never find another love. How is that love? I want you to find as much as I joke where I'm like, I'll haunt your ass. I would want you to find another love. That is what love is. I want you to be happy in the end.
Yeah, and I think that.
And if it's not with me, then.
But that's the definition of like bravery, which I think bravery and love go hand in hand, because you know, there's lots of relationships, and you hear about it all the time that you know, one spouse, or maybe they do it to each other, kind of try to keep each other small. You don't really want them to have too many of their own hobbies. You don't want them to be too comfortable with themselves, because then there's a chance that they could realize that they want something more and leave you. And
that's so small dick energy.
And that's definitely something like, I mean, as you were growing and all that stuff, that's something that I'm sure that both of us had come to mind approaching relationships this way. And you just have to get comfortable with the fact that that they are an individual, and that is a possibility. And there's no like celestial shame keeping you in the relationship where you're going to get struck down if you leave the relationship. You know, it's the only thing keeping you there is your bond to each other. And you know, does this person, is my life better with this person? And that's something that you can ask every day. And yeah,
I love that. I'm going to read a couple more of these comments if you want, but be thinking, have you ever had like worst, creepiest relationship advice? I think I wouldn't say this is the worst, but one that comes to my mind is one that we never say to each other, or like newlyweds, is oh my god, what is it? Don't go to bed mad.
Oh yeah.
Like we go to bed mad almost anytime we have an argument, because we're both pretty stubborn, and for us, time is different every time for any argument, but like time is what we need. So whether that's time together, time apart, time to sleep it off. I'm more of a sleep it off. Sleep on it. See how you feel tomorrow. And most of the time we wake up and we ain't even mad.
Yeah.
Because the shit we bicker about is not that important most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to it doesn't make sense to whenever you're both already upset, you're already elevated, you're in that place. You know, I'm sure there's science on this, but it's just human nature that whenever you're elevated or you're angry or something like that, you're not in the right mind space to change your mind. You're in the right mind space to dig in and
to prove your point.
Yeah, defend your point even harder. And sometimes, you know, I think if you just go to sleep, spend some time apart, let things reset in your brain, that's a lot better than just slamming your heads together all night and being proud that you didn't go to sleep angry.
Right. To me, that's like the worst advice. Okay. Well, we pretty much got through a whole episode with one Reddit story.
Let's do some rapid fires. We'll keep it to like 30
rapid
seconds.
fires. Okay, here's a couple more worst, creepiest relationship advice other people have had. My family is really Christian, and I waited until I was actively leaving my husband to tell them I was divorcing him because I didn't want to hear this. Don't your vows mean anything to you? You got married in our house. I had a place to go, my money was safe, everything was ready, and only then did I tell them how unhappy I was that I was leaving him.
Yeah, that's if your
should not
fallback on why you should stay with me is
you got married in my backyard.
The house that you bought together. Yeah.
Or like you got married in my house. That sounds like your parents' backyard or something. Like how ew. Like that's so like almost like blackmail. I don't like that.
People say crazy stuff when they know they have nothing to offer the relationship.
It's so true. The problem is that you're too competent. It's scary. No one wants to date Wonder Woman. This was from, it says, I was 18. Thanks, Mom. Their mother told them this.
Mm-hmm.
That's some insecurities from the mom to the daughter.
That's that like old school Farmer John 1940, you cook and clean and he
and all day a
works
mannequin.
The farm all day. Yeah, that's women aren't supposed to be competent, or it's hot or attractive to be incompetent.
Don't get me started.
Yeah,
that can provide a very long rant from me.
I'd lose my mind.
We literally just talked right before this podcast. I was like, do you know what year did women get credit cards? What year could women get credit cards? 1974 was when women could get credit cards. Is that not insane? Separate from their husbands. Mm-hmm. So I don't need your ass to sign off on me getting money, getting credit. You know why? So that they could fucking leave their ass and support themselves. Yeah. Divorce they ass.
That's husband. The same. What?
Seeing red.
Look up when no fault divorce was put into action.
1969. So before the credit cards.
Yeah. So
this is all coming together.
This is, I don't remember where I saw this, and I hope I'm not just parroting false facts without looking it up. But after they passed no fault divorce, the suicide rate of women like plummeted.
Yeah.
Because they had some agency. They could choose to leave a relationship, and almost like they were people. They're finally being treated like people and
with brains.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sometimes a guy needs to feel like a man. Okay, what's the problem? He needs you to be less smart and make less money and be less capable all around. If a dude needs women to fake submission or an inferiority to be happy, then they're not much of a man then, are they?
And that's what we talked about earlier. Like if you don't develop your own life that you're happy with on your own, and you've come to terms with yourself and you're comfortable with yourself, then your only other real choice is codependency. And to be successfully codependent with the type of guy who is going to take somebody that's codependent, you will need to minimize yourself. I mean, that's it's.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's scary.
Ladies or men, if they're whoever you are out there, if your spouse is making you feel like you have to lessen yourself to please them, leave the ass. Well, first communicate that with them and give them one chance and one chance only, and then leave the ass.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I better shape it up.
No, you would never treat me like that. Are you kidding me? You want me to be smart and pretty and all the things. Like, I don't understand those relationships where like they dull down their spouse.
Yeah.
I say pretty because like there's some relationships where they literally, you can't wear makeup. You can't look like that. You can't wear that.
Yeah.
Bye.
I've seen it. It was more in high school than anything else, and some in college, but that's just like the guy is deeply insecure. Yeah. And he thinks that if he makes you unattractive that you're going to stay with him or something like that.
And some people do.
It's real weird.
Okay, this is the last one I'm reading. My mom is constantly telling me how I need to take better care of my boyfriend. When you're at his house, just clean up a few rooms. You need to cook for him more. Whenever you make him dinner, make extra and box him up for him to take home. You should you should just grab his laundry and take it home so you can wash it and fold it for him. What? He says, excuse me, ma'am. He is a grown-ass man who can feed himself, clean up after himself. Absolutely refuse to baby him because that's how you end up with a useless, incompetent man-child like my father who is perfectly happy to be taken care of.
I feel like we should hear Mom out, you know? She makes some great...
You're about to get kicked out of this trailer so quick.
I'm just kidding. Yeah,
No, I just said this from the beginning. That's the most unattractive thing ever to me is a man-child. You're a grown-ass man. I grew up with a man-child in the house, leaving dishes out on the couch, on the counter, in the sink. Like, put them in the dishwasher!
And I think us millennials are making some strides the right direction with the gender roles and things like that. I think Gen Z is going to destroy it. Like I'm so excited for Gen Z. Like from what I've seen so far, I think
love Gen Z
because it's we're kind of like on the cusp. We're trying to move the needle, but from what I've seen so far, I think that they're going to make some real change.
I think so too, and I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to be here for it. I'd like to be a part of it someday.
You're gonna hang out. You're gonna be the
Michael Scott,
the weird older friend,
not on the inside joke. Well, guys, that's really all I got for you today with relationship advice. I hope that flowed. It was a lot of rambling, a lot of if you don't know me, you're about to know me really well. That like I mispronounce words all the time. So that deity, sorry about that. It's deity. If you didn't know, now you know.
You had a chameleon.
And if you don't know what that's from, you're too young for us.
No, you need to go watch
How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother. It's pretty much Friends if Friends was a good show.
I really
canceled.
I hate that you say that. Friends is good. You just have to realize the time it was in that was comedic.
I get it. I just never got into it. It's my fault.
But The Office is better anyway, so just watch The Office. Okay, yeah, that's all I really got for you guys today. Thanks to my husband for being here. Round of applause.
Yeah. Happy to be here.
Yeah, if you guys have any, if you liked relationship advice, send in your questions. I would love to do a little like side thing of us reading your stories about your relationship or things that you're curious about our relationship. Go ahead and send them in. The email will be in the description below. But that's all I got for you guys. One last thing. If you want to check out more from me and Jared overall about travel nursing, about spooky stories in the hospital, answering your guys' questions, head over to my Patreon to get the juicy bits from Friends and Enemas. And that's all. Bye, guys. Say bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.